Sierra, are you visiting your family again? I've lost count of how many times you've chosen your parents over your responsibilities as Brad's wife. You didn't visit us for Christmas last year, nor for Easter or the 4th of July before that. When exactly do you plan to come here? It's been years since you married Brad, and you haven't visited even once, not even once. What are you thinking? Do you even realize what your responsibilities are as my oldest son's wife?
Hello, Natasha. I've mentioned this several times before, but let me reiterate. I only meet you on special occasions, weddings, funerals, and similar events. As far as I know, there haven't been any recent occasions that would necessitate my attendance. So no, I haven't had a reason to visit you guys yet for a while now.
That's ridiculous! Just because Brad is stationed overseas doesn't mean you can completely neglect his family. Do you realize how selfish this makes you look? As my oldest son's wife, it is your duty to dedicate yourself to his family, especially his parents. This isn't about what you want, it's about tradition and respect.
Are you forgetting why I stopped coming around in the first place? When Brad and I first got married, you immediately started criticizing me. You treated me as if I was some kind of project you could mold into your ideal version of a daughter-in-law. Brad had to step in and tell you to stop, right?
Criticizing you? When have I ever done that? I was only trying to teach you the proper conduct of my oldest son's wife is all.
Then let me ask you, what exactly does your version of proper conduct entail?
Oh my, you mean you still don't know? Fine, since you seem so clueless, I'll explain it again, step by step. 1. An eldest son's wife must never disobey her mother-in-law. 2. An eldest son's wife must wholeheartedly dedicate herself to her husband's family. 3. An eldest son's wife must quit her job and focus entirely on her household. 4. An eldest son's wife must give birth to a male heir and cannot stop having children until she does. 5. An eldest son's wife must live with her in-laws and take care of them with genuine affection. 6. An eldest son's wife must take on all household chores after moving in. 7. An eldest son's wife must sever ties with her birth family and treat her husband's parents as her own. Now, does that clear things up for you?
Those 7 points, they're not just unrealistic, they're impossible for me to follow.
Excuse me?
I'm someone who believes in voicing my opinions. Even if it's with my in-laws, I'll discuss differences of opinion thoroughly. If I see something wrong, I won't hesitate to address it. As for living together, Brad himself said it wouldn't happen. And regarding your retirement plans, Brad told me that you and his father have already decided to handle things independently.
It's just something Brad said on his own. The traditional way is for the eldest son's wife to handle these responsibilities. I've been trying to convince Brad to understand that this is how things should be.
Tradition or not, the idea that I must quit my job and cut ties with my family just because I married Brad is completely unreasonable. I love my career and I plan to continue working. And I'll visit my family whenever I feel like it. That won't change.
You can't just dismiss tradition like that.
And about your insistence on having a male heir, you're aware, I assume, that the baby's gender is determined by the father's chromosomes, correct? It's not something I can control. Also, gender selection isn't something amateurs should even consider. It's unrealistic and, frankly, absurd.
Sierra, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? If you think you can silence me with these flimsy excuses, you're sorely mistaken.
If you consider this nonsense, then what you're saying is nothing short of absurd.
Excuse me?
It's this unrealistic attitude of yours that makes what you're doing feel like in-law harassment.
Harassment? Oh, don't be ridiculous. This isn't harassment, it's guidance. I'm doing my best to help you because you clearly don't understand what it means to be a proper daughter-in-law. And yet you have the audacity to reject my kindness, Sierra?
Kindness, you say?
Yes, kindness. You don't see how much effort I've put into this. It is heartbreaking and infuriating that my sincerity hasn't reached you. You need to understand something. A woman's role is to nurture and protect her household. Quit your job already and focus on your home. I am teaching you this because it's my duty as your senior.
Every family is different, Natasha. Brad and I are building a household that reflects our values, not someone else's.
How can you not understand this yet?
What you call guidance is nothing more than meddling in an attempt to force your beliefs onto me.
But you married into this family. As a member of this household, it's only natural for you to heed the advice of your seniors.
I see. Well, let's talk about some practical matters.
Practical matters? What now? Are you still going to defy me?
First, let's talk about my job. Before I married Brad, I founded my own company and became its CEO.
Wait, CEO?
Yes, if I quit my job, that means shutting down my company. And if the company closes, what happens next? It's simple. My employees lose their jobs and their livelihoods.
You're a CEO? Why haven't I heard about this before?
I mentioned it when we first met, but you dismissed me, saying, "Stop talking about silly dreams and focus on being a proper wife." Even when I tried to explain, you interrupted me and lectured me about proper conduct.
I was only trying to prepare you for your role in this family.
Brad was so frustrated by your behavior that he told me, "You don't have to deal with my mother."
Brad said that?
In fact, he even suggested I block your contact information. But considering his overseas assignment, I kept the lines of communication open. Now, back to the point, do you still think I should quit my job?
Well, I don't want your employees to suffer, but...
So you understand my position?
But I still think a woman should prioritize her family over her career.
I can't abandon my company.
Oh, I have an idea. You can keep the company running and focus on your home.
What's your suggestion?
Hand over your CEO position to Brad.
Excuse me?
If Brad takes over your role, you can finally focus on being a proper wife.
That's not how it works. Our fields are entirely different.
Brad is a quick learner. He can do it. Let's give it 2 months, train him, step down, and move in with us.
This isn't realistic.
Trust me, Brad can handle it.
Natasha, do you hear yourself right now?
Of course. Now let me call Brad and arrange his return.
There's no need. Brad is here.
What?
He's right here with me. He has something to say to you. Listen carefully to what he has to say.
Brad, when did you return to the U.S.?
Yesterday.
Yesterday? Goodness, why didn't you inform me beforehand? Do you have any idea how shocking it is to find out so suddenly? You could have at least sent me a message.
It wasn't planned in advance, Mom. The return was a last-minute decision due to some personnel changes. This time it's just a temporary trip for meetings at the head office. I'll head back to my overseas post the day after tomorrow. That said, starting next month I'll officially move to a domestic position.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, you should submit your resignation to your current company as soon as possible.
What? Resign? Why?
You read the messages I exchanged with Sierra earlier, didn't you? Then you should already know you're going to take over as CEO of Sierra's company in 2 months, so you need to leave your current job right away and focus on preparing for that transition.
Mom, are you serious right now? Do you even understand what you're saying?
Of course I do.
No, you don't! Mom, I've worked my entire life to get where I am now. Do you remember how hard I worked to land a job in my current field? It's not just a job to me. It's something I've been passionate about for years. And now you're telling me to quit without any regard for what this job means to me?
But Brad, think about it. You'd be a CEO. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You'd earn a much higher income than you do now, and it would provide a sense of financial security for your father and me as we get older.
Mom, Dad has already told me he has no intention of relying on us financially. He's planning to move into a retirement home when the time comes, and he doesn't want to be a burden on us.
Oh, that's just your father being stubborn. I'll talk to him and convince him otherwise.
No, Mom, there's no need for that. I support Dad's decision, and it's something we've both agreed on.
What are you saying, Brad?
I'm saying I've had enough of your meddling. You've been imposing your outdated views on Sierra from the start without ever listening to her side of things. And now you're trying to involve me in your absurd plan to take over her company? It's beyond unreasonable.
Oh, but listen to me.
No, Mom, you need to listen for once. Do you even know what kind of business Sierra runs?
Well, not exactly. I only found out she was a CEO earlier today.
Exactly. You've known her for years now, and yet you've never bothered to understand what she does because you've been too busy dismissing her accomplishments. Let me spell it out for you. Sierra's company operates in a highly specialized field. Most of the employees are skilled professionals with years of training and expertise.
Highly specialized? What does that mean?
It means her business requires a deep level of knowledge and technical skills. You can't just hand the reins to some random person, especially someone like me who has zero experience in that field. Running her company isn't as simple as you think it is, Mom.
But surely, with enough training.
No, Mom, it's not something you can just train for in 2 months. Sierra built her company from the ground up, and it's an extension of her skills, her vision, and her leadership. It's not the kind of thing that can be transferred to someone else, especially not on such short notice.
Well, what exactly does her company do?
I'm not telling you. Knowing you, you'd probably show up at her office and start interfering with her employees.
Interfering? I would never.
Yes, you would. And Sierra doesn't need that kind of stress right now. She's already dealing with enough thanks to your constant pressure.
But Brad, she's the eldest son's wife. She has responsibilities to this family.
Responsibilities? Mom, Sierra has gone above and beyond to show you respect, even when you didn't deserve it. She's tolerated your demands and tried to maintain a polite relationship with you, but you've done nothing but criticize her and push her into a mold that doesn't fit who she is.
I was only trying to teach her the proper role of a daughter-in-law.
No, you weren't. You were trying to control her. And guess what? Sierra isn't the kind of person who'll let herself be controlled. She's strong, independent, and capable. That's why I married her, and that's why she's decided to block your number from now on.
Block my number? What are you talking about?
The only reason Sierra hadn't blocked you before was because she didn't want to make it difficult for me to stay in touch with you while I was overseas. But now that I'm back, there's no need for her to put up with your nonsense anymore.
You can't be serious. She is completely disregarding her role as the eldest son's wife. I won't allow this.
Mom, stop. You don't get to allow or disallow anything. Sierra isn't a servant, and she's not obligated to follow your outdated ideas of what a daughter-in-law should be.
But, Brad...
No. I've had enough. Until you take responsibility for your actions and realize how much hurt you've caused, I'm not coming home either.
Brad, don't be ridiculous.
This isn't ridiculous, Mom. It's the result of your behavior. From now on, if you want to contact us, you'll have to go through Dad. That's the only way I'll consider maintaining any sort of relationship with you.
You're being unreasonable.
Unreasonable? No, Mom! Unreasonable is trying to ruin someone else's career and marriage because you can't let go of your outdated expectations. I hope you think long and hard about everything I've said. Goodbye.
Brad, no, wait. Please don't block me. Brad!
After Brad's report, my mother-in-law was scolded by my father-in-law. However, true to her nature, she refused to change her opinion and remained steadfast in her stance. The truth was, there had been a long-standing disagreement between them regarding how they would handle their retirement years. Their visions for the future had never aligned, and this clash had been brewing for quite some time. It wasn't just a matter of minor differences, it was a deep-seated issue that had caused tension for years. But what happened next, however, was the turning point that neither of them had expected. In the heat of the moment, after a particularly heated argument, my mother-in-law decided to take a drastic step. She had been feeling increasingly unsupported and frustrated, and in a fit of anger, she pulled out a signed divorce form that had been prepared in secret. It was a last-ditch attempt to exert control over the situation, hoping that my father-in-law would change his ways if he were faced with the consequences of a divorce. However, her plan backfired. Instead of begging her to reconsider, my father-in-law took the opportunity to free himself from the years of stress and strife that had defined their relationship. The very next day, he took the signed form to the local government office and submitted it. My mother-in-law, who had been expecting a more dramatic confrontation, was left utterly stunned. What she had intended as a threat had quickly become an irreversible reality. There was no turning back now. She realized that her impulsive decision had effectively ended her marriage, and she was left with nothing but regret. It was a harsh wake-up call for her, and one that she wasn't prepared for. As soon as the divorce was official, the reality of the situation sank in. My mother-in-law had to leave the house where she had lived for so long, no longer able to stay in her marital home. She began scrambling for somewhere to go. It didn't take long for her to decide that her only option was to move in with us, my husband Brad and me. Without consulting us first, she sent over a shipment of her belongings, as though we had already agreed to take her in. This move, while bold, was also incredibly presumptuous. We were caught completely off guard by the unexpected arrival of her possessions. Brad and I stood there in shock as the delivery truck unloaded boxes of her things on our doorstep. There had been no warning, no prior discussion. She simply assumed that we would accommodate her without considering how this would affect our lives. We had our own routine, our own space, and the idea of suddenly opening our home to her felt overwhelming. Brad, ever the problem solver, wasted no time in addressing the situation. Instead of confronting his mother directly, he reached out to her older brother, the only remaining relative who might be able to offer any assistance. Brad explained the situation, outlining the difficulties of housing his mother and the implications for our family. His uncle, who had been dealing with his sister's behavior for years, wasn't particularly surprised by her actions. He was familiar with her stubbornness and understood the challenges she presented. However, he agreed to help. Brad arranged for the shipment of my mother-in-law's belongings to be redirected to her brother's house. The items were rerouted and the situation was resolved without much drama. But just as we thought the matter was settled, my mother-in-law arrived at our doorstep completely unannounced. It was as if she expected us to simply accept her into our home without any discussion. Brad, who had prepared himself for this possibility, calmly and firmly explained the situation to his mother. He told her that we were not in a position to take her in and that her belongings had already been sent to her brother's home. My mother-in-law was taken aback by this response. She'd clearly expected a warm welcome, but instead she found herself being turned away. It wasn't the outcome she had hoped for, and she was visibly upset. To avoid further conflict, Brad's uncle came over to personally escort my mother-in-law back to his home. It was a somewhat awkward and uncomfortable moment, but ultimately it was the best solution for everyone involved. We didn't want to completely shut her out, but we also needed to establish boundaries and protect our own family life. Now my mother-in-law lives at her brother's home, which has already passed into the hands of the next generation. The home is no longer truly hers. It now belongs to her nephew, and she occupies a small, isolated corner of the house. Her once commanding presence has diminished, and she now lives in a much more modest and humble situation. It's a far cry from the life that she once had, and I'm sure it's difficult for her to adjust to this new reality. Brad's uncle has said that she spends most of her time quietly, keeping to herself. She doesn't want to draw attention to her situation, and she seems to avoid conflict at all costs. But there's no denying that her life has dramatically changed. The woman who once ruled her household with an iron fist is now living on the fringes of her family, no longer the center of attention. It's a humbling experience, and I can't help but feel a sense of justice in how things have turned out. For years, my mother-in-law had been the source of much of the tension in our family. Her refusal to compromise and her ability to manipulate situations for her own benefit created many problems, especially with my father-in-law. Now it seems as though the tables had turned. She was the one facing the consequences of her actions. While I do feel some sympathy for her, there's also a sense of satisfaction in knowing that her behavior has finally caught up with her. Looking back, it's clear that my mother-in-law's life has been shaped by her refusal to bend or adjust to the needs of others. She's always been quick to judge and criticize, but now she's on the receiving end of the same treatment. It's a difficult lesson, but one that could potentially help her grow and change. Time will tell whether she learns from this experience or continues down the same path of self-centeredness and pride. As for Brad and me, the situation has taught us some valuable lessons about boundaries and family dynamics. We've learned that it's important to stand firm in our decisions, even when it's uncomfortable. We've also learned that we cannot sacrifice our own happiness and well-being for the sake of others who are unwilling to change or respect our limits. Our home is our sanctuary, and we must protect it from outside influences that seek to disrupt our peace. Moving forward, I hope that my mother-in-law can use this time to reflect on her life and the choices she's made. She has the opportunity to reinvent herself, but only if she's willing to let go of her past behaviors. It's not an easy path, but it's the only one that will lead to any sort of redemption. Whether or not she takes that path remains to be seen. For now, Brad and I are focused on our own future, one that is free from the drama and tension that has so often plagued our family. We've built a life together and we intend to protect that life. We've learned how to set boundaries and how to deal with difficult family situations in a way that preserves our own happiness. In the end, life has a way of evening the score. My mother-in-law's story is a reminder that actions have consequences, and sometimes the things we do come back to haunt us. While it's hard to watch anyone go through a difficult time, it's also important to remember that we all reap what we sow. My mother-in-law's downfall was a direct result of her own choices, and now she must live with the consequences. Brad and I are moving forward with our lives, undeterred by the challenges that have come our way. Our relationship has grown much stronger through adversity, and we've learned the importance of staying true to ourselves. This experience has taught us that no matter what happens, we must always prioritize our own happiness and well-being. This experience opened my eyes to how important it is to be firm in our decisions, even when it feels uncomfortable or difficult. For a long time, I feel like I've had to accommodate everyone, especially family. But now I understand that in order to protect what Brad and I have built together, we must prioritize our needs. After all, we're the ones living our lives, and we can't let anyone disrupt the happiness we've worked so hard to achieve. As for my mother-in-law, I can't say I feel much sympathy for her anymore. Yes, I acknowledge that she's going through a difficult time, but her own actions have led her to this point. She spent so many years controlling situations and the people around her that it's no surprise that eventually everything started to unravel. Her world has been turned upside down, and now she must face the consequences of her own behavior. But as hard as it is to say, it's the only way she might learn. Brad and I are now stronger, more united than ever. We've learned that sometimes to move forward, you need to let go of the toxic elements in your life, even if they are family. It's a hard truth, but one that's been necessary for us. We're no longer afraid of confrontation, and we know that we must protect the life that we've built together. In the end, my mother-in-law's story is a lesson for everyone. Actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences are inevitable. We can only hope that, in time, she learns to reflect on her past and make better choices for her future. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.